Hey y'all, this is just a real quick video about kind of how to apply for a Child Life internship and things you need to know and look for, and just some little tips and tricks in the process of applying. I recently, after my second time trying, finally got a Child Life internship in Missouri. So don't be discouraged if you've gotten that rejection letter. Believe me, I've gotten lots of rejection letters. And it kind of killed my spirit at first, but then I realized that this was my passion and something that I wanted to do. So I just kept going with it. So I was privileged this last time to work with a child life specialist who's already in the field. And she shared with me all her tips and tricks and information and things to do and not to do. So I wanted to pass that on because it worked for me really well this last time. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first thing you need when you're preparing for a child life internship is you need to be organized. It's the only way to do it. You can't just start applying the week the applications due or 2 weeks before. You need to mentally prepare to do this months in advance. So you're going to need some sort of like organization system. So I love Target, and they had these nice bins, and I'll pick it up and show y'all. Kind of the woven basket look. One in front. Yeah, I was looking for, I think it's RE. But I was looking for something that I could put file folders in because that's what I decided to use for my organization system. So I bought the bin, and then I went to the office supply section, and there was, I think it was like a pack of 6 or 7 of them for $5. I mean, it was expensive. You know, you just got to do what you got to do. But I used these for each hospital, and I applied to 30 places for the fall of 2016. And we'll get into that in a minute. So I applied to 30. And so for each hospital, I put on the front cover, then I put washi tape on the front, and then I listed the name of the hospital so I can always reuse the folder. I just peel off the washi tape. This is Our Lady of the Lake in Baton Rouge. And then I put an index card of all the things that were required for that internship application. So the things that were required from here was the Child Life Course Verification Form, the CLC Eligibility Assessment, documented volunteer hours, the Common Child Life application, resume, unofficial transcript, 3 letters of reference, one from a child life specialist, a professor, and then another organization, and then a list of goals for the internship experience. And then, so that's all up here, and I found that all on their website under their child life application. And then at the bottom here, I put their mailing address information, and then who the internship coordinator was. So this is how each of my folders looks. Sometimes I use an index card, sometimes I just use a little piece of notebook paper, but I taped it on the front so I wouldn't have to look through here and like figure it out like what I needed. It was all up front, and I double checked it, triple checked it with the website information to make sure it was correct. So I had 30 of these, all different colors in this bin here. And so that's how I started out. And I had all of this done by February 14th. So I started researching hospitals, and I just went on Bing and typed in children's hospitals in Texas, and like a list popped up. And then I'd go into my Word documents or into Excel actually and made a spreadsheet of places in Texas and all these other places that took unaffiliated students. Because I am not currently enrolled in a university. I graduated from Texas Women's University in December of 2014, so I'd already surpassed that time of finding a place that took a person who was affiliated, which is hard to do. I feel like there are a lot of options out there. You just have to look. So I had already compiled a list of all the places that took unaffiliated people, and so that's what I chose from my pile. of folders. Okay, so some of the items that I mentioned earlier are things that are required for you to put in your application. Depending on the hospital, it requires different things, but most are going to require the same similar items. So it's a good idea if you're, kind of thinking about applying, just to be familiar with the documents. So when it does come up for the application time or near it, you'll already be familiar and it won't be so overwhelming, because it is an overwhelming process. So one of the things you'll definitely need is the Common Child Life application, which is found on the Child Life Council website. And this is required for every hospital. Some hospitals don't require it, but those are few and far between. So it's basically has, list your personal information. There's going to be a section where they'll have you list your experiences in the different healthcare settings, and then other child-related experiences, other professional related experiences with children. And then there's going to be a page that's going to ask for child life relevant coursework information. So you're going to have to go and input all of your classes that you took as an undergrad that were relevant to the field of child life. And we'll get to the eligibility assessment in just a minute, but just going through this piece of paper first. And then there's going to be an essay section where you're going to have to go ahead and list your different experiences and answer the questions to the best of your ability. So some of the questions include: how did you first become interested in or aware of child life? What have you done to increase your knowledge, awareness of this profession? Briefly describe the ways in which the work of a child life specialist contributes to the healthcare experience of a child and his or her family. And then the last one is: provide a specific example of a time that you used play to meet the developmental needs of a child. So those are just some different questions that are on there, and those are all the questions that are on the Common Child Life application. However, some hospitals do have additional essay questions you need to complete. The next piece of paper that you're going to need is the proof that you took a child life class, and this is going to be something that your professor will need to fill out and sign. Looks something like this, has her signature at the bottom. So this will also need to be included in your application packet. Now, the big deal. Okay, this is your eligibility assessment, and you find this on the Child Life Council website. The website is kind of hard to navigate, so you might have to just go to Google and input Child Life Council eligibility assessment, and then the screen will pop up. You have to make a login, you have to register, and you have to pay $75 for the assessment to be filled out and completed. Actually, it's like $75 for it to be reviewed by the Child Life Council. So on some of the applications from hospitals, it will say coursework review, which is the same thing as eligibility assessment. I was confused, so I emailed the Child Life Council and they clarified that for me, but it's the same thing. It's not two different documents. So one of the things that I didn't realize the first time I applied for internships was that this is not something that you just go on the Child Life Council and you pay your $75 and it like automatically assesses your classes. No, ma'am. This is about a 2-week to 4-week turnaround. So if you're applying for spring, go ahead and do this now. Or if you're applying for next fall, go ahead and start with this. You'll have to send them this paper, and which is the proof that you took the Child Life course. And you'll also need to send them an official transcript. So here's my official transcript here. And make sure that the seal is sealed and not broken, because if it's broken, then it's not going to count. And start saving your money for those transcripts, because they're $10 a piece most places, and you're going to need a lot of them. Okay, so this is a very important piece of paper. I encourage you, if you've already graduated, just get this out of the way. Have it completed. So you'll with this piece of paper, it just popped up on my login, so I actually copied and I think I just printed it from the internet, and this is what they need. So it looks something like this. Make sure you have the logo at the top so they know it's yours, and all of that. And it just lists, you input 9 courses, and then they just approve, the council approves them. So that's the biggie that is required. Okay, resume. Okay, so this is my resume. It's 2 pages. I'm sorry it's backwards, it's hard to read, but I just wanted to kind of go over some things because I know that at least it was like for me, when I was applying for practicums and internships, I got some rejection letters, and it's sometimes hard to take that rejection and just like take it in and kind of make do with what the situation is. But I took that feedback and kind of put it into action with some of the different things that I added to my resume as I went along. So definitely, if you do have, a rejection letter, if you get, try to get that opportunity to provide that, for them to provide that feedback for you, so you can see if you need to change something or what can you improve to make you a more likable candidate for the next round. So just a little bit of background about me and what I've done. I completed my practicum at Shriners Hospital in Houston. I went 3 semesters before I achieved a practicum, and I actually was offered 2 places. I chose Houston just simply because it was a different kind of a program, and it was local, and I could live at home, and there was a few other reasons I chose it. But this Shriners Hospital worked with children with, it wasn't a burn hospital, it was orthopedic, prosthetic, cleft lip and palate hospital. So it's a lot of children with special needs. And so for me, that was an area that I was not familiar with, and I needed to have some more experience. So that practicum kind of stands out from other practicums in the way that it was so specialized, instead of going to a real general hospital. I also did a degree programmed practicum, which is part of my degree when I was in school at the Ronald McDonald House of Dallas. And that, I cannot tell you, is such an excellent place to get experience if you're interested in becoming a child life specialist. So many of my questions or answers for the questions and interviews are all stemmed from the Ronald McDonald House. So if you have an opportunity, I would highly encourage you to volunteer your time at the Ronald McDonald House in your area. It's an amazing organization. You're going to learn a whole lot about family-centered care outside the hospital, and working with siblings and families and grandparents, and really putting their mind at ease when they're not at home, and just providing those therapeutic activities as well. It's a really great experience. I highly encourage that. My other bulk of, so my hospitalized hours all came from Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. And when I started volunteering, I was just in the cardiology playroom, and I was doing a fun cart, which is like taking small toys and activities to patients on different floors. And so some of the feedback that I received from different hospitals when I was a practicum student, and then when I was applying for practicums and when I was applying for internships, was not enough variety. So I was like, well, I can branch out where I'm currently at. So I kind of branched out a lot. I started in our acute care playroom at TCH. I started being a baby holder in the NICU. I did some special events for Christmas and Easter and different things, and became a patient pal, supporting patients at the bedside. I started the first ever sibling group program volunteer, that we worked in our child life zone with siblings who were there providing fun activities and distraction from the hospital and everything. And then my most recent and something I'm still doing currently is volunteering in the emergency center, which I highly encourage you to do if you're thinking about becoming a child life specialist. I was completely unfamiliar with that part of the hospital, and seen a lot of crazy things, some really horrible things as well, and of course had every kind of crazy parent experience, it seems. I'm sure there's way more to come, but that's been a great asset for me as well. Some of my well children hours, I volunteered at my church's choir camp for 5 years in a row. I did vacation Bible school. I'm also a substitute teacher in the school district where I live. I teach elementary and special education students. So that's been a great asset as well, because it's something I actually just started it this past January. It wasn't something I was doing before, but it's been just good to see kids in the school setting and kind of working with them, and you know, it's been an experience for sure. But also working with these children with special needs, and so that's been very rewarding, and they're just so happy about life, and despite their disabilities. So it's been great doing that. But that, does make me stand out from other people, who aren't doing that. And then I did a personal sewing project with teddy bears, distributed them to the Ronald McDonald House of Dallas and Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. So that was a project that I did. And then some other things that I put on here was like professional development, that I attended a Child Life conference, and then some of the hospitals that I was applying for internship asked for my interests to be listed on my resume. So I put I'm interested in grief and bereavement care, fine arts, equestrian, creative arts, and traveling. So some people just want to know that, so I just put on there for everything. And of course, you put on there, the first thing you put on there is education. Bachelor of Science in Child Development, emphasis in child life. Make sure you put your GPA on there. I put my minor in music, emphasis in voice, and then I put my honors, that I was a cum laude graduate, National Collegiate Scholar, and National Society of Leadership and Success. So people want to know all that stuff. There's many ways to do resumes. For what I found with Child Life, people want to kind of read what you've done, so mine's a little bit more comprehensive, a little bit longer, but whatever you feel best. You'll also need a cover letter for some places, and I think I don't have any more copies to show of that, but there's lots of great examples online, and your university would probably be more than willing to help you with a cover letter. Okay, so some of the things you'll need to prepare for your interviews. You'll need some sort of a notebook. Spiral notebook is fine. I also used this small notebook I got from Target. Isn't it cute? And so what I would do before I had an interview is this is St. Louis Children's Hospital. I'd research the hospital and I'd write down facts and questions that I wanted to ask. So some of the facts were they have 280 beds, level 1 trauma center. Their motto was the guardians of childhood, which I loved. And so some of my questions, I'll just share some of them with you. What sibling support programs does Child Life offer? And is there a safe place for older infants and toddlers to play? How many beds in the emergency room? Are in-services or other occasional sessions offered for interns? What is the dress code for interns? And then this is kind of more specific to this certain hospital, but each place kind of has their own things that they specialize in. So I kind of geared those questions. And so during the interview with St. Louis Children's, so I wrote in black my questions and things I already knew beforehand. And then in pink, I jotted down different things while they were talking. You can't really see it, but it's over here. And one thing when you're doing phone interviews, which is most initial conversations are going to be phone interviews, I always get the name of the people on the phone. And so I write their names on a sticky note and put it on here. So after I was offered a phone interview and that's completed, I'll get my stationery and write a thank you card. Just appreciation, because it's not offered to everyone. I was kind of in the mindset that this is something to be really thankful for. Um, so that's what I did after every interview. I wrote a thank you note. You also need some sort of a folder to keep all of your originals. So I just put it in a file folder, and this is everything from the original child life verification form, or that, and the original eligibility assessment, recommendation letters that I wanted to keep a copy of, hours of verification, signed, very important to be signed. With recommendation letters, I'm going to share this story because it happened to me, unfortunately. I received a letter of verification from a trusted individual, someone who is a professor of mine. And I had told her, everything that kind of needed to be included in it, and had given her plenty of time to do it. She gave it to me in a sealed envelope with her initial on the back. And this was at Texas Scottish Rite, actually. And so I got an email after application deadline. This was for practicum, thankfully. After that had passed, and they had said, "Oh, we really liked your application, but one of your people who wrote a letter of recommendation didn't sign the letter in black ink." I mean, that was completely out of my control. So because they didn't sign it in black ink, they threw out my entire application. So I just can't stress enough, when you're asking for these letters of recommendation, that you make sure that the people that are writing them for you know to please, please, please sign your letter in black ink. And please do this as well. It needs to be sealed, taped, and their signature on the back so they know it's official. And then on the front, my professor, she put my name right here. But I can't stress that enough, because you've worked so hard, and all you want to do is have everything go through. But anyway, that's my story. So I'd highly recommend you doing a practicum. You're not going to get anywhere without one, unfortunately. So if you do a practicum, make sure you have your practicum supervisor give you my Shriners didn't do an evaluation, but they just did a letter saying that I completed a verification of all the hours that I did. So this can also count as your evaluation, that you prove that you did a practicum. Okay. All right. So what to do with mailing? Okay. So you're going to need some of these nice manila envelopes. Okay, you're gonna need, there's 20 in a pack, so I got 2 packs, which had some left over. Okay, then you're also going to need these Avery labels. It's number 8164. So there's 6 labels per sheet. So to be professional, I put a label on each recommendation letter with the address of the hospital. And then I also put a label on the outside of every big yellow envelope with the hospital address. I typed them. There's a template that Avery provides. It's very easy to do. It's not complicated. And it makes it look better than something that's handwritten. Picky, I know, but needed. And I think I got these at Office Depot. They were like $16. This is an expensive process, and I think people aren't really prepared to spend this much money. But go ahead and get prepared now. If you are looking to do internships, go ahead and start saving up those funds. So in total, I probably spent about $500 on application. Yeah, it was expensive. Those official transcripts are $10 a piece, and then they charged a handling fee, another $10. So it was like 5 transcripts for $60. Not good. So I probably spent about $120 on transcripts. I spent on like materials and supplies. That includes the bin, the folders, the labels, the paper. And let me talk about paper for a minute. You're going to need resume paper for your resumes, and maybe business paper for some other important documents, such as essays or the eligibility assessment, other things you feel that are really important. Um, so business paper resume paper at Office Depot, it was $15 for 100 sheets. Not a good deal. And then the business paper was, I think it was $20 for 500 sheets of paper. There is a difference. The business paper is not as thick, and the resume paper has that little like a vanilla tint to it. So I think it was like probably 150, 200 in supplies and all of that. And yeah, that's probably right. And then I spent 100, no, it's gotta be more than that. 130 on shipping. I sent everything priority, and that's the only way to do it because you're able to track it. And so I was the most hated person at the post office with all my letters in hand. But you know what? I worked so hard. I didn't care. Throughout the process, you're gonna have hospitals that you ask questions and they won't contact you back. Well, you know what? That's probably not a place for you to be anyway. That's what I found out with some places in Houston. It was like, well, I guess not. And I've seen a lot of things on Instagram and Twitter. It was like, well, I've volunteered here for 5 years and they're not even giving me an internship, or they're not even giving me a practicum. I'm in the same boat right with you. I have over 600 hours at TCH, and I didn't get a practicum there. I didn't even get an internship there. Onward. There's better things out there for you. And sometimes it's probably just they're wanting you to have different experiences. Yes, you're thinking, oh, it's convenient. I live here. I don't have to move. But, just keep... if this is what you want to do, then go for it. Just apply. I applied to 30. And I got interviews. I applied to 30 internships. I got interviews from 8. And I got final second interviews from 7. And then 2 called me. I didn't get any calls on offer day. I was very depressed. I thought for sure didn't get anything. And then Wednesday morning, I had Missouri call me. And that was the best thing ever. And then later in the day, I had Hawaii call me. But I had already accepted in Missouri, so, But I wanted to share a quote that I heard and wrote on my board. It says, "If you can muster courage in the face of fear, you become more confident." And that's Megan Kelly said that. But I think this whole process just drains you mentally, emotionally, physically. This is something that you're fighting with your whole life for. And I encourage people to go into the fields of child life with that whole sole purpose of, is this something that excites you in the morning and wants you to get out of bed? And are you wholeheartedly into this career? And if you are, then this is for you. So it takes a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, a lot of hard work, but it's something that you can do if you put your mind to it. Just don't give up. If this is your dream, go for it. And thankfully, I get to have my dream come true. So, don't give up. And once you get to the end of it, put it in a nice frame and pose because you work so hard. So you'll find me at Cox Health in Springfield, Missouri as the Child Life intern for the fall of 2016. Best of luck to all of y'all. I wish you luck and good skill. You can do it. I promise.